Alright, so trapped inside the house due to ice, which is spectacular, and I'm bored, so good thing my internet hasn't gone down yet, although it's possible someone will run into something important and I'll freeze to death. So if you don't hear from me within 5 days, assume I've fallen to cannibals as my building starves itself. But while I'm stuck here, I thought I would record some more thoughts and observances, since people, well, outside of apparently slave trading on my thread, are interested in what I had to say, so I thought I'd continue on that. And talk about emotions and the way INTPs, or at least I process my emotions. A lot of people seem to be under the delusion that INTPs are emotionless, which I think is a factor of our countenance, that we tend, or at least the INTPs I've seen recorded on YouTube and that I know in life, tend to have very flat countenances, tend to have facial demeanors that don't show a lot of emotion or expression. At best, mild disdain or sarcastic humor seems to be the primary expressions that we default to. And the interesting thing is, it's mostly what other people project on us, that we don't deliberately put our faces like that, and in fact we might be experiencing emotions very different from that. And people assume, based on their own facial expressions, what we're actually feeling, which is often woefully inadequate. I've been told that every time I smile it looks like I'm smirking. And it's fair, it really is. Having seen myself in videos, I know it's true. I would call it smirking as well. But a lot of times when I'm smiling, it's not because I'm smirking or mocking something, it's because I'm genuinely amused. And unfortunately my smile comes off as artificial or disdainful, which is unfortunate. Especially when I rarely feel disdain for things that make me laugh. I absolutely hate the sort of humor that involves the pain or embarrassment of another person. It mortifies me. And I honestly would say I feel very intense emotion. But it's never emotion that overwhelms me. I have a deep core of emotion that really affects me and affects what I believe and how I act in the world, and often forces me to be much more decent and patient than really a lot of people would want themselves to be. That I take too much crap that I don't deserve, because I have a deep sense of integrity and a deep sense of what is right and what I care about. And the emotional intensity of these things is sometimes overpowering, but it never manifests in the outside world. Or if it does so in a very subdued manner. If I am too overwhelmed to operate, I don't operate. I disappear into my cave, so nobody ever sees it. All they ever see is the flat demeanor of me in control of what's going on inside. I think there's a core difference between a healthy INTP and an unhealthy one, and it's not about whether or not one has emotion, because both do. It's about whether or not one has an outlet for acknowledging said emotion and processing through it. And in the end, at least what I do is I process it, I understand it, and when I've grasped it, it becomes an intangible force that I can push out of myself and remove. That it's not that I'm refusing to acknowledge it at that point, it's that I understand it, I understand where it was coming from, and I understand whether it was right or wrong. And from that understanding, I can take care of it. I can either state to myself, look, what happened was misunderstood. If, say, I feel like I was insulted by somebody, I can process through and try and understand it from their point of view and understand, look, they didn't mean to slight me, or they didn't mean to offend me. They were trying to make a point and they went too far, which I do myself, or that they did intend to do so, and why should I feel the pain for that? It's not my problem. They're dipshits. I'm moving on. And the funny thing is, it works. It really does. I can let go of these things, but only when I've acknowledged that they are real and that they matter. And good or bad, they need to be worked through. It's not my first tendency, but it's one that I've worked hard to foster in myself, and I think has helped me to a large extent in processing some major damage and some major weight that I've carried around over the years. Certainly not all of it. I mean, I'm 24. I got a lot more work to do. But I think outside of acknowledging others, acknowledging emotion is important. We are never going to be feelers. We shouldn't be. We're thinkers. First and foremost, we are probably the most hardcore, pure thinkers outside of maybe the INTJs that exist in the world. We will always think things through rather than feel them through. But it is possible to find a healthy thinking way to process one's real and important and rational emotions. And if we're able to do that, we can come to a place of accepting and utilizing the powerful forces within ourselves rather than trying to ignore them and being stampeded by them instead. Because what we have to understand is that every piece of our thinking and our drive for understanding comes from an emotion, whether it's curiosity, whether it is intense admiration and awe, whether it's passion and love. We think things through logically, but we are interested in them because we are emotional about them. And we have to acknowledge that fact and harness it to get the greatest good out of it. We are at our most dynamic when we are linked in to our most intense feelings. Our steps that go from there are very much rational, but everyone starts from feeling. And I know that's heresy to say, but it's true. Humans are rational. It does not mean we are always logical. And we have to accept that our rationality is driven from core emotionality about the things we see in the world and about the people we experience in the world. And if we don't know how to deal with that passion, it deals with us, and not in good ways. That the most destructive INTPs I've ever met, and the most destructive I've been with myself, have been people and times where there could be no acknowledgement of the pain, the anguish, the hurt, and the anger that was being experienced, and instead it festered away unseen and untouched, and it still demolished things. It's not like not acknowledging it saved anybody any pain. Only by acknowledging what we feel can we get beyond it. And knowing that sucks, but it's the truth, and it's one that I've worked on very hard. So that's rambling for now, and I'm at the 10-minute mark, so I gotta shut this off. Talk to you later.